Okay, Ted Lasso. Everybody, Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen it, you've probably led a worse life the last 5 years. Like it's a show you need to watch. Ted Lasso, Apple TV Plus's celebrated sports comedy, has made major moves toward finally kicking off a long-awaited fourth season, we learned via a Deadline exclusive. The show's original 3-season run, which concluded more than a year ago and garnered 13 Emmy Awards, left the door open for the future, but that was left largely in the hands of the star Jason Sudeikis, who originated the character on Saturday Night Live shorts. I didn't even know that. That's cool. Now, Warner Brothers Television, the studio for the series, has picked up options for 3 original cast members: Hannah Waddingham, Brett Goldstein, and Jeremy Swift, with more expected to be announced soon. Does the prospect of a 4th season have us begging the coach to put us in?
Yeah, Ted Lasso is great. Totally agree with you there. If you've never gotten into it before, you don't have to be someone who's into sports or anything like that, or into comedies necessarily. It's got a little bit of everything. It is a great show.
You just have to have a heart.
Yeah,
you just need a heart. If you have a heart in your chest, you'll like it.
But, ultimately,
explains
one
why
of the things... She's like, well, I feel nothing, so it makes sense.
All those who's in Whoville. Damn them.
But what's important to keep in mind here, I saw a lot of outlets that were more of the clickbait variety sort of reporting this as like a 4th season of Ted Lasso is confirmed. And we're not quite there yet. What this basically means is that, these actors and actresses are represented by unions, and they have contracts. And typically in these contracts, they have option years. So a show will go out, or a studio will go out, sign an actor to like a 3-season deal with a 4th season option or something like that. And so then the plan is that if the show sort of goes sideways, you could easily get out of that last season, right? You can choose to pick it up or not. So what this means is that Apple TV Plus has picked up the options of some of the main characters, but only the ones that are represented by a British actors union, right? And so to complete the deck, to get like Sudeikis and some of these other key characters that are represented by SAG-AFTRA, Apple's going to have to get those contracts rolling with SAG-AFTRA too. So we're kind of in that middle point where they've gotten some of the team together, but they still have some key pieces they have to get on board before they can actually make the thing happen. And until that happens, it's not at the finish line yet, right? It's not confirmed. But what this does tell us is that clearly Apple TV Plus is interested in making another season. I would imagine the cast is probably interested in making another season. They all seem to love the product. And at the end of the day, like, Apple TV Plus makes, I think, great content. Like, I think they have some excellent shows, like a great just buffet of shows to choose from like different types of styles, good limited series, like good shows that are on a run that are getting new seasons. But they're still not streamed that much. It's one of the lower end on the street. They pump a lot of money into their content, but their streaming service is not really bringing in the dollars that it should be. And so they really kind of need Ted Lasso on some level. It's their flagship show. It's the one that really has gotten the most pop of all of their shows. Yeah. And they need that show back on their platform because they're having a problem. They're having a subscriber problem. People are coming in. Maybe they get the trial. They watched the Monarch Legacy of Monsters or whatever, and then they peace. Or they come in and they watch Severance season 1, and then they bounce. Like they're not sticking around.
No, Jay, remember nobody watched Severance. Our Spotify polls
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to squeeze it in there every once in a while, but maybe not successfully.
Messaging.
So yeah, Apple TV Plus, they need to convince people to come back. Like they need people in, and Ted Lasso can certainly do that. It's their most popular show by far. So yeah, I think it'll happen. I think it'll happen. I think we'll have season 4 of this show, but there's still a few things that have to happen first.
Mm-hmm. When I watched, you're totally right. I think this is the only show in my mind of Apple TVs that has like broken through to the zeitgeist. Like people talk about this show, people love this show. I love a lot of the Apple TV content, but like I've almost never talked to anyone about it. You know what I mean? Like I love For All Mankind. It's so good, but like I don't know anyone else that watches it.
My dad watches it.
It's just Oh yeah, give me your dad's number.
Yeah.
We'll talk. I have one guy that's in my band like every 3 months. He's like a fill-in bass player. He's in like every once in a while. He's on a gig, and he's the only guy I know that watches it. And just because he recommended it to me, and so we'll be in the car. I'm like, oh, did you see this season yet? Yeah, let's talk all about it. But I think when Ted Lasso ended with the third season, I said at the time, they have a really great path to move forward with this show, with or without Jason Sudeikis. The way they left the show off, not to spoil, I won't say what happened, but it was a really great point that they could have continued. And I always said that even if Jason Sudeikis did not want to return, and if it was the end for Ted Lasso, I literally, like the way it ended, I thought it was going to end with them saying, next season, look for the new show AFC Richmond. Like I really thought that it was going to be like, because that just seemed like what it was doing. It set up a lot of things that could have continued with or without him. And I think, and the three actors that are announced here are the three, or that are, their contracts were renewed. They are the three people who kind of run the office at the team. So let's say they jump 5 years, 10 years even, and Ted Lasso's not there, but they have the three main office people who run the office and management side, and you've got even some of the same players, some different players. You could really like kind of revive the show. Obviously, you want as much of the original DNA as possible, but I really think there was definitely an opening when the show ended to just keep going, and they didn't, but it's only been a year or two, so I think they could have definitely come back with something strong, and I want them to. It's a great show. It's a great show.
Jay took my take that this is a grab for subscribers, and we know it is because Apple TV came out and said we're losing a ton of money, especially I think on their films though. Like I think it was the movies that Apple has produced that have really not made them any money. And so it makes sense perhaps that they're going to focus more on TV because their shows are good. A lot of them are very ethereal. Like there's not necessarily a wide gamut of things. It's kind of very genre based. Even Shrinking, which is my favorite Apple TV show and is a comedy, has a lot of these dark undertones to it, and it's more of a dramedy than anything else. But I would be curious though, because this kind of thing interests me. Like, so if you watched Ted Lasso on Apple TV when it ended, did you end your subscription? Probably not, because we don't really do that much. So would this be more of a grab for new subscribers to be like, hey, everybody was talking about this show 3 years ago or whenever it would come out, and don't you want to be part of it? It's coming back. Like, I don't know, that kind of the demographic of who signs up for a streaming service and when and why, I find fascinating.
Waiting on all those subscribers that are going to leave Netflix, after Stranger Things ends. They're like, come on over. Like, we know what you're waiting on. We know you're waiting on Stranger Things season 5.
Yeah. I didn't think I was going to have a take on this one because I've only seen the pilot for Ted Lasso, and I liked it, but it didn't just grab. I think it was overhyped. I think the conversation around it was like, I overhyped it. So when I saw it, I was entertained, but was not just grabbed the way a lot of people are. But what I find more interesting is this conversation around Apple TV Plus and how successful are they, and what does their retention look like in terms of their subscribers. And I do think, listening to the conversation here, I honestly think one of the best things they can do is their app icon needs a facelift. It's black and white. It has a professional kind of classic clean look to it, but it's not very eye-catching. Like when I think about my array of little icons there, the Hulu one is more attractive, the Max with its purple there. So, Apple has long standing been known for their branding, and they've got, they usually do a pretty clean and sleek kind of design, but I think they got to do something to make that color pop, because as we're talking about just the extensive catalog of great stuff they have, Ted Lasso I started but didn't finish. Shrinking is another one I've seen a handful of episodes and loved, but I just haven't gone back to. Dark Matter I'm about halfway through and I want to go back and finish it, but it's really only those ones that like Severance and Silo that just like grabbed me, and I binged one after the other. So there's definitely potential there, but I think it comes down to the marketing. So we'll see.
I love that take, Jay Scotty. Ted Lasso may be returning. I just want to take this moment to shit on the icon of Apple
Is that
TV.
how it came
Like,
across?
what are you doing? No, I'm just teasing.
When they shut down HBO Max and called it Max, I was public on this podcast that I mourned the purple aesthetic of HBO.
Oh, I
Max.
said
Yeah.
purple is
Yeah.
blue now, isn't it? Yeah,
That was
yeah,
a
good call.
beautiful app.
Yeah,
That was a
blue.
beautiful app.
The purple
Bring
is
back
better.
the purple. You have your chance.
I wonder if it's because they're trying to stand out against the Roku background. Like, I wonder if that's why they went with blue instead of purple. I don't know, because a lot of people use Roku. I want to say about Ted Lasso, if this is more of a pitch to Jay Scotty specifically and anyone else who fell off after 1 or 2 episodes, one of the best things about Ted Lasso is the character development that happens.
Sure.
And so it is a show that's fun to watch. Like, it's a good comedy, a lot of good funny stuff, but like the character development that happens in a good comedy is just so... That's what makes it like those heartfelt, emotional moments that you don't get as much until like you've seen a season.
Sure.
It's one of those shows, and I know people say this all the time. Like, give it a few episodes, give it a season, and they're easy, they're digestible. They're 20 minutes. They're great, great
And
show.
Brett Goldstein, he was the guy that popped up as Hercules in the Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's right. Yeah,
Post credits. Okay.
Yeah.
Thought so.
yeah, and he's one of my favorite characters on the show for sure. I love him.
He also wrote part of Shrinking.
Oh,
I think it was his.
it's
Yes.
all in the family. Okay.
Yes. He great. I like Shrinking a lot too. Great. It's a very similar vibe, I think. Like very emotional, character developy with just like silly comedy stuff in the middle.